Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In Surah Ar Rum, we have seen so many evidences that the Western civilization is standing on a very shaky ground from the aspects of its corrupted financial systems, its corruption in dealing with the need and essence of human beings, and in all aspects. So if you consider the Western civilization as a body, then this body has no skeleton. This body is very prone to any kind of an earthquake or a shaking. It will just collapse down. It doesn't have any skeleton. It cannot erect itself and stand firm in the face of the needs of human being as an individual as well as a society. And in previous episodes, we digged a bit deeper into the insights from Surah Ar Rum as a support of this claim that the Neo-Roman Empire, leading by America and all that's around it, the Anglo-Saxon civilization, you can say. And we have seen this time and again in Surah Ar Rum. I wanted to really bring this discussion to a conclusion for Surah Ar Rum. So I wanted to discuss a few more verses in this surah as a conclusion. We hear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ الْقَيِّمِ. So direct your face, O Muhammad, or be steadfast and don't go to any other ideology except ad-din al-qayyim, except the ideology, the religion, the world view, the guidance of that religion that has this character that Allah said, Deen al-Qayyim. This, I think, is very interesting word. You know, ad-Deen al-Qayyim, upright faith, correct religion, and upright faith. Al-Qayyim. Al-Qayyim has in it the word qiyam, meaning that upright, can stand on itself. That means it has a skeleton. Like us, human being, when we erect ourselves and stand upright, what is in our body that makes us stand upright? We have the musculoskeletal system. We have our skeleton and we have the muscle, and these are the things that is making us stand firm on the face of the earth and walk. So see this similarity here. Allah is talking about a religion when it is a qayyim. It has the elements, internal elements that makes it sustain, makes it stand, makes it self-sufficient, it has its bone and muscles. And these are the correct religion. If you think about the Western ideologies and the Western thoughts, we have seen in so many places that it lacks this kind of skeleton and muscles. It fails to understand the human needs from the very beginning at the level of individuals, then at the level of family. It has no appeal to the soul. It has resorted only to some hedonistic appeals of sex and entertainment and this and that, but it is never touching the soul of human being. A soul is facing problem. It's searching for the truth and it's not finding, because it is not a Deen al-Qayyim. Allah is telling us that we should aqim wajhak. You direct, be focused and direct all your attachment to the religion that has these elements, Deen al-Qayyim. And let's do it as soon as possible before we die. Min qabli an ya'ti yawmun la maradda lah. This is just one life and we could die at any moment. So let's stop any further analysis since we have reached to the truth and rush and run to the Deen al-Qayyim. And the Deen al-Qayyim is the religion that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has brought, which is the Islam, the Quran, and it is a continuation. It has no contradiction with the message of Musa alayhi salam, message of Jesus, message of Ibrahim, message of previous prophets. But the fundamentals on which the Western civilization is built, it has no lineage to this heritage, this noble heritage that is linked to the Prophet. It says that, okay, through the Christendom we have linked, but it is a mere lie. They have linked to Greek and Roman shirk and mythology and Zeus and Olympian gods and this, so it has its basis on this satanic type of polytheism. But the religion of Islam has its focus with one God, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is monotheistic religion. Okay, so let's be very clear that Islam is closer to the true religion or the true message of all the previous prophets, including Jesus and Moses and Abraham and all other prophets. It is the final version. It has the elements that makes it ad-din al-qayyim. Let me move forward to some other verses, and if we continue to 46, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ يُرْسِلَ الرِّيَاحِ. This is an interesting analogy that Allah is making by mentioning the riyah, wind. You see, the wind is very interesting thing. So among the signs of Allah, that He sends the winds. What is the purpose? Mubashirat, ushering in good news, because the wind brings rain, and the rain is the water, and the water is the agriculture. Water brings life to a dead place. Mubashirat. And also وَيُذِيقَكُم مِّن رَحْمَتِهِ, so that He may give you a taste of His mercy. وَلِتَجْرِيَ الْفُلْكُ بِأَمْرِهِ, and the ships may sail by His command. You see, the international trade is built on the cargo that moves from continent to continent through big tankers and ships. And it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has made these things easy. وَلِتَبْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِهِ, and that you may seek His bounty. وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ, and perhaps you'll be grateful. So see the role of this wind in building human civilization on earth, in terms of agriculture, in terms of, so these are all elements of development in any society. When you talk about the economic development, the worldly development, the material development, the progress of human beings, a civilization or a country going from being a poor to a being very advanced in all aspects. Who is behind it? Behind it is wind and the rain and the water. Who is behind it? It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And just jump from verse 46 to 47 and see the transition. 47 says, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ رُسُلًا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِمْ فَجَاءُوهُمْ بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ فَانْتَقَمْنَا مِنَ الَّذِينَ أَجْرَمُوا وَكَانَ حَقًّا عَلَيْنَا نَصْرُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Indeed, we sent before you, O Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, messengers, Rusul, إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِمْ, to their people, فَجَاءُوهُمْ بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ, and they came to them with clear proofs. فَانْتَقَمْنَا مِنَ الَّذِينَ أَجْرَمُوا, then we inflicted punishment upon those who persisted in wickedness. By seeing all these signs of the Prophet, they didn't listen to the Prophet. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has inflicted them with punishment, and what was the final outcome? وَكَانَ حَقًّا عَلَيْنَا نَصْرُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. It is an obligation, it is incumbent upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is our duty. Allah is saying it is our duty to help the mu'mineen, to bring victory, support, help the believers against their enemies. So what we are seeing here is this Din al-Qayyim that we discussed in the previous verse. The element of any Din al-Qayyim, any ideology, any religion that can erect itself, it has the elements of progress in this world, the material progress, which was given the analogy of a wind that brings all kind of development. And it has the element of this message from heaven, So it complements these two things, and thus it makes this religion upright. It's like one is a muscle and the other is a bone, and bone without muscle is nothing, and muscle without bone is nothing. So wind and the worldly knowledge and development associated with knowledge that can only come from a true revelation by Angel Jibril. This is the Wahi, this is the Quran, this is the Torah, this is the Bible, this is the Wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the prophets came. So prophets and winds. If this is a title you want to say, this is the prophets and the winds. Wind and the prophet. The world here and the world hereafter. The complete erect religion has these two things. أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا مِّن قَبْلِكَ فَجَاءُوهُم بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ. And it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has brought this knowledge. This knowledge that brings some morality to the science and technology. Today the Western civilization has science and technology, but it doesn't have the underpinning ideology that drives the science and technology in a way that understands the human being, its nature, what is family, what is the purpose of money, what is equality, what is, okay, all these things is absent. The morality side is absent, the messenger side is absent. They might only have the wind, the material science, but the science is agnostic. It's like the knife, it could be at the hand of a murderer or it could be at the hand of a surgeon who saves a life. Okay, so see this interesting blend between wind and revelation. And that's why it was mentioned in a hadith that when it was Ramadan, this blessed month, when this message started to come to human being, to the world on this Ramadan, on Laylatul Qadr, when the first Quran revelation started in Ramadan, when the Quran was revealed in Ramadan, Inna anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr. This is the wind, the metaphorical wind that blew on the mankind, this Quran. That's why in each Ramadan, when the Prophet ﷺ used to have this study session with Jibril, and they study the Quran, they memorize the Quran, they revise the entire Quran. See the atmosphere, the best of the angel Jibril, with the best of human beings, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And they are studying the best of the message, which is the Quran. And that positive energy blew a wind of revelation, wind of nur, barakah. And that's why it was described that ajwadu min ar-rih al-mursala. That meeting and the discussion going on within this meeting, it is the light that spread this Deen al-Qayyim to the whole humankind. And that's why they knew that the truth in the darkness, now this is the light that they threw. So we feel proud, alhamdulillah, that we are adhering to this religion, the truth religion. And Allah is assuring us in this verse 47 at the end, وَكَانَ حَقًّا عَلَيْنَا نَصْرُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. It is haqq alayna. It is our duty. It's Allah who has control of everything, and He is giving us an assurance and guarantee that the end will be for the believers. End will be for the believers. So with such assurance, this ummah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ should never feel despair or feel the inferior complexity in front of the glitters and shallow cosmetics of the Anglo-Saxon civilization. They should never feel that, as long as they have this message, this powerful message, and we just are scratching the surface of few verses from Surah Ar Rum, and you already saw what it carries, these great meanings. Let me jump towards the end. I will just request you to follow the subsequent verses where Allah describes the wind, and when the rain is absent for a long time, the population got despair that we don't have rain, we are dying. And all in a sudden they look into the horizon and see black clouds are coming, and immediately their heart fills with joy that wow, we have a rain after such a long period of droughts, for example. So see, when human beings or human civilization is despair because the ideology that is leading us, the world for the 200 years or so with this Western civilization, each day the world is seeing new problems coming out. Whether it is in the definition of human beings and their gender and transhumanism and all kind of corruption in this area, or if it is on the area of capitalism and the consumer capitalism and the inequality that is created by it, or in the face of the whole world, how it is supporting Israel and its genocide, and it's a very clear-cut case of injustice, and still the world is supporting them. Or so pick up any kind of branches and you'll see how the world is suffering from this droughtness of spirituality. And in the horizon we have the Quran. So let's feel joyous that we have this message, and let's have patience and be assured that this Western civilization is breathing its last breath, and what is coming out of the ashes is what Allah has given promise, that وَكَانَ حَقًّا عَلَيْنَا نَصْرُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. So try to submerge yourself with these verses that tries to link between a community where it is suffering from drought and the wind and the rain it comes, and the metaphorical rain that is the Quran and the messengers brings. And since the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was the last of the messengers, he has left with us all the materials. So each of us can play that role of being a messenger through this Quran, through the Hadith, and through all the materials that we have. And I'm just trying to bring in some of those topics to you. And see verse 52, فَإِنَّكَ لَا تُسْمِعُ الْمَوْتَى وَلَا تُسْمِعُ الصُّمَّ. Full of imagery pictures that, oh Muhammad, you cannot make the dead hear, because these people are dead. After all this kind of clear proof, if you don't hear the message, you cannot feel the message, you cannot connect the dots, then you are as good as a dead, or a deaf, or a blind. لا تسمع صم الدعاء وما أنت بهاد العمي عن ضلالتهم. Verse 53. And you cannot lead the blind out of their misguidance. Let's not be blinded by the glitterings of the Wall Street, or all these billboards of the Madison Square Garden. Okay, إنك لا تسمع الموتى ولا تسمع الصم الدعاء إذا ولوا مدبرين. And finally, I would like to highlight in Surah Ar Rum, verse 54, which really deserves a full episode, but I'll just leave it for you because we have talked a lot about the collapse of civilizations here. So verse 54, I'll just give you the translation and leave you to ponder upon the majestic meaning this verse has. Allahu alladhi khalaqakum min dha'fin thumma ja'ala min ba'di dha'fin quwwa thumma ja'ala min ba'di quwwatin dha'fan wa shaybah yakhluqu ma yasha wa huwa al-alimul qadir. It is Allah who created you in a state of weakness, then developed your weakness into strength, a bell curve, rising curve. Then developed your strength into weakness and old age. It reached apex and then coming down. The cycles of rise and collapse of civilizations. He creates whatever he wills. يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَهُوَ الْعَلِيمُ الْقَدِيرُ. For he is the all-knowing, most capable. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us hidayah, guidance, tawfiq, and throws his light in our heart and soul, so that our eye opens to this kind of meanings of the Quran. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us the sabr, the patience, and the knowledge, and the ilm, through which we overcome the trial and tribulations of these glitterings and cosmetics of this Western civilization that tries to drag us into some surface meaning here and there and prevents us from going down the surface into the deeper meaning. And that necessitates knowledge, that necessitates patience. And if we have this knowledge, patience, and by knowledge I mean the yaqeen, then for sure Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us the leadership of this world and make us see in front of us how this Western civilization is just falling down, collapse like a house of cards. And inshallah this will happen And let me just conclude by the last verse of this surah, because this gives a summary. Verse number 60 of Surah Ar Rum. فاصبر إن وعد الله حق ولا يستخفنك الذين لا يوقنون. So be patient, for the promise of Allah certainly is true. And do not be disturbed by those who have no sure faith. They have no yaqeen. So we need to have the sabr and yaqeen. And if we have this too, Allah will give us the leadership. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in another verse, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا لَمَّا صَبَرُوا وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ. Sabr and yaqeen. Just remember these two key words, patience and a firm faith. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu.